Yeah, it's almost like you can buy 16 different earbuds in one. This episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you. A huge thank you to the generous folks on patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy for helping to keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. More info on those awesome nerds later in this review. Alright, the folks at CCA sent these my way to take on a test drive and share my thoughts. I've been intrigued by this idea since they launched a couple months ago. What if you could flip a switch and change up the tuning of an earbud? I've played with switchable dual drivers in the past, and I think they're interesting. You could have one mode for work and another mode for play, but for the costs, you can often end up with a compromised experience for both work and play. My relationship with CCA is all about how many drivers you can pack into an earbud casing. My last go-round was a while back with the CCA C16. You can guess how many drivers they had in those earbuds. I'm rambling, but there's an adorable excess to this brand. So yes, we have a crazy multi-driver earbud here. The Rhapsody has 2 dynamic drivers and 4 balanced arms per ear. This IEM has switches to alter the tuning and characteristics of the sound you hear. Not 1 switch, not 2, not 3, there are 4 switches to change up the sound, and each switch affects a slightly different part of the overall EQ, and you can use this in any combination of the 4 settings. So yeah, there are actually 16 different variations to play with. Makes the review just a little bit more complicated. This is not a premium priced IEM. It shipped in a rather plain box. It's just some simple cardboard. The cable that they include is sort of fine. It's a 2-pin connector. It should be easy to replace with a nicer cable if that's what you want. What you're paying for, what your money goes towards, is a multi-driver IEM, and it's a pretty big earbud. I think folks with smaller canals will likely struggle with this weight and the size of the nozzle, even with the smallest ear tips attached. I think the design looks good, but I'm not the guy to talk about that. I literally cannot care what earbuds look like, except for those true wireless earbuds that look like you cut the cable off of a stalk at the bottom, but I digress. I'm not looking at myself while wearing them, so I'm the wrong guy to ask about style. I think the most important part of an earbud is, how does it sound? And that's a complicated question to answer here, given the customization feature. I can say confidently that with a little playing around, I think most people will be able to land a tuning profile they really enjoy. And some of my other earbud reviews, we've talked about adjusting EQ in a media player, on a DAC, or in an app. The Rhapsody allow you to hone in more on your preferred sound before you get to the media player or app side of the use. With all the switches off, I think we have a lovely sound representation, maybe a little on the lean side, just a subtle U-shape to the tuning. Nice and warm, some good lows, a decent lift to the upper mids and highs. It avoids my least favorite aspects of aggressive deep V tuning, because you can kind of turn that on if you want. Consumer-friendly earbud that juices up all the colors, a little like a smartphone HDR photo. That could be really fun for movies and video games, but I kind of find that cloying on music, especially older recordings, instrumentals, and jazz. This is not a 4-band EQ. It's not a direct low, mid, high kind of switch setup, but in that I am a mids junkie, I kind of like the middle 2 switches lined up, just for some color and shape on what the earbuds can deliver. Even with the extra low end on the bottom 2 switches though, I'm happy these don't get too dull or muddy. The bass doesn't get out of control. Balancing all these drivers is kind of tricky. So I was hoping for a bit more clarity or a slightly sharper articulation on things like guitar distortion. But then I have to remind myself what the price is here, and I'm comparing them kind of directly against significantly more expensive options. The hardware here is solid, and it really wakes up. There's something really fun that happens when you pair it with a solid portable DAC. I spent most of my time with these plugged into the Shanling UA4 I just recently reviewed on this channel, and this was a fun and vibrant combination. I had a lot of fun comparing and contrasting, flipping the different switches. It's just not a feature I see being used actively a lot once you get through the novelty of it. You know, you get out a little pin tool like for your phone SIM card, and you flip a switch and you can say, this is my movie mode. So I wonder if that's what CCA had in mind, if you would be actively changing up the profile regularly, or if these were more looking at a more customizable earbud that people would set it once, set it and forget it. But I digress again. Okay, back to the earbuds. It's a closed back design, and with dual dynamic drivers, we shouldn't expect the widest or most natural soundstage. I was a bit surprised by how intense the isolation was. Once you get a good fit on the ear tips that fit your ears, I mean, at least for my skull, they really sucked in and stopped up my ear. Now, I kind of like that isolation, especially from my years of doing location sound mixing, but it's something to be wary of if you're sensitive to that feeling, and it might be worth swapping out the ear tips or moving over to foam if you want something that's a little bit more comfortable. Just out of the box, they kind of make for a handy set of earplugs if you need to take the edge off of a live concert and you forgot to pack some earplugs. I didn't even write this into the script. It's probably TMI, but the first time I pulled them out after a long listening session, there's this little like pop of air, and they helped me excavate a little chunk of earwax. That's super gross, but it felt pretty good getting that out. So I'm happy I shared that with you. And now, wrapping up this video, I'm not sure these are a great pick for professional applications. If you're looking for an aggressive presentation of detail and articulation, or if you're looking for the most open or natural sound reproduction. But I do think bass heads are gonna have a lot of fun with these dual dynamic drivers, and there's a really fun color to the output here that I think a lot of people would enjoy. These are fun iems, and they have a novel little perk. I really like how ridiculous CCA can get with their drivers. And I think it's always fun playing with different options, even if sometimes it's only for the novelty of it. And even if you don't use the most novel feature on the Rhapsody, it at least provides you with a way to tailor fit the hardware to your preferences. It's the pricing where this stuff gets wild. The full MSRP is around 70 bucks. And you can find some retailers trying to move these at $100. That's dumb. Do not buy these for $100. But it's also not hard finding these on sale for around 50 bucks. And I found a couple listings selling these for under 40. Under $40. These are kind of an amazing earbud to play with. And we're so flush for fun options in the headphone and IEM space right now. The technology is falling faster and faster in price. So I have a question for folks out there. I mean, it's always fun trolling through new albums and talking about music. If there might be any interest in hosting a listening party or an album release review over on the Patreon. Patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. A huge thank you to everyone who helps support content creators if you're sharing videos on social media, and the incredible generosity of my patrons who are literally helping to keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. These videos and reviews and editorials would literally not be possible without your support. Once again, patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. And if there's any interest in doing a community listening event, drop me some comments on this video. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy, basically everywhere these days, but I'm trying to spend a bit more of my time on the Mastodons, a lot less so on the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and definitely not on the Twitters, and I will catch you all on the next review.